$30 million, a dream that could change everything. For Stephen Riley Jr., it was more than just money. It was freedom from his struggles, a chance to rebuild his life. But dreams have a dark side, and this one became a deadly nightmare, poisoned at the hands of the person he trusted most. Riley's life ended in betrayal and greed. The truth behind his collapse unraveled a chilling web of deception that no one saw coming. Stephen Riley Jr. believed he was on the brink of a life-changing moment, a $30 million inheritance that would free him from the struggles of his past. But what should have been the beginning of a brighter future turned into a nightmare. On September 3, 2023, he collapsed in agony at the Minot airport, his body already succumbing to a fatal dose of poison. His partner, Kenoyer, by his side, insisted it was heat stroke, but the truth that would emerge was far more sinister. This was not a case of misfortune, it was murder. Before we dive into the chilling details of this shocking crime, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Driven by greed and betrayal, they were there to meet an individual who purportedly was an attorney handling Riley's inheritance, a staggering $30 million from a distant relative. But what began as a hopeful encounter turned ominous when Riley suddenly fell ill. Overwhelmed by dizziness and struggling to walk unassisted, he was rushed home under Kenoyer's insistence, setting off a tragic chain of events that would ultimately reveal a chilling web of greed, manipulation, and betrayal. Stephen Riley Jr. was a man known for his generosity and hardworking nature. Born and raised in North Dakota, he was a fixture in the Minot community. Friends and family described him as kind-hearted, a man who went out of his way to help others. Riley's upbringing had instilled a strong sense of duty and loyalty. He often prioritized the well-being of those around him, sometimes to his own detriment. A skilled handyman, he gained a reputation for helping neighbors fix anything from broken appliances to fences without ever expecting much in return. Despite his outward kindness, Riley's life wasn't without struggles. He had endured financial setbacks and personal losses over the years, which he rarely spoke about. Friends noted that Riley often masked his pain with humor and his determination to focus on the positives. This resilience made him well-liked, but it also made him susceptible to people who might exploit his trusting nature. His relationship with Kenoyer further reflected his tendency to give others the benefit of the doubt, even when they didn't deserve it. Riley's loyalty to Kenoyer often overrode his own needs, leaving him emotionally drained. Yet, those who knew him believe his hopeful outlook never wavered, even as the relationship became increasingly toxic. Ultimately, it was this trust and optimism that would lead him into the trap of betrayal. Though their relationship spanned nearly a decade, Riley's friends often observed troubling dynamics. Kenoyer had a tendency to dominate their interactions, frequently undermining Riley's decisions and belittling him in private settings. Over time, this controlling behavior escalated into outright hostility, with Kenoyer leveraging emotional manipulation to maintain power over Riley. Friends noted how she would create dramatic conflicts over minor disagreements, turning every issue into an opportunity to assert control. Close acquaintances revealed that Kenoyer often used Riley's vulnerabilities against him, exploiting his financial struggles and fears of failure to make him feel dependent on her. She would frame herself as the only person who truly understood him, simultaneously isolating him from others while belittling his efforts to improve their situation. In moments of reconciliation, Kenoyer would offer fleeting affection, enough to keep Riley from walking away, but never enough to heal the fractures in their bond. These cycles of manipulation and emotional abuse left Riley trapped in a relationship where his self-worth was continually eroded. Despite the visible toll it took on him, Riley seemed unable to break free, driven perhaps by a misplaced hope that things might improve or an ingrained sense of loyalty that Kenoyer exploited mercilessly. Despite these difficulties, Riley occasionally spoke fondly of Kenoyer, perhaps clinging to moments of kindness that punctuated their rocky bond. Yet, as the years wore on, cracks deepened. Riley confided in friends that he felt trapped by Kenoyer's financial reliance on him. Kenoyer, on the other hand, seemed increasingly preoccupied with Riley's financial prospects. What began as subtle inquiries about his future plans grew into an unhealthy fixation on the inheritance. She began keeping meticulous notes on Riley's conversations about the money, treating it as though it was already in her possession. This behavior escalated into bold and audacious statements. In one instance, a friend overheard her boast about finally living the life we deserve, even though the funds were still far from confirmed. Kenoyer's obsession with the inheritance wasn't limited to idle fantasy. It seeped into their daily lives. She started pressuring Riley to make financial commitments for a lifestyle they couldn't yet afford. From discussing lavish vacations to making comments about buying a new home, she painted an elaborate picture of their future together. To Riley, these moments may have seemed like hopeful dreams, but to those around them, they were alarming signs of her deep entitlement and disregard for reality. Behind closed doors, this obsession turned sinister. Kenoyer's temper flared whenever Riley expressed skepticism or mentioned the possibility of the inheritance falling through. She weaponized his doubts against him, accusing him of sabotaging their future and deliberately holding her back. These accusations left Riley visibly distressed, yet he remained reluctant to sever ties, perhaps out of fear of how Kenoyer might react. As the promise of wealth grew more tangible in her mind, Kenoyer's demands became outright ultimatums. She began isolating Riley further, undermining his relationships with friends and family who might have encouraged him to leave her. Friends noticed that Riley had become withdrawn, his usual warmth replaced by a quiet tension, as though he were carrying an invisible burden. When asked, he would deflect, chalking up the strain to work or stress. Kenoyer exploited this emotional withdrawal, using guilt and manipulation to tighten her grip on him. In private, Kenoyer would alternate between extreme affection and cold hostility, a pattern that left Riley emotionally unsteady. Friends described how she'd praise him lavishly one moment, only to berate him cruelly the next, often focusing on his doubts about the inheritance. She accused him of being ungrateful and unambitious if he dared to question the scheme, fueling a toxic cycle of dependence and despair. Her control extended to Riley's finances, as she pressured him to pre-commit to extravagant purchases that aligned with her vision of their future life. To outsiders, it was clear Riley was unraveling under the weight of their relationship, but trapped by her relentless manipulation, he seemed powerless to break free. In the months leading up to his death, the strain between them became more pronounced. Riley's excitement over the inheritance appeared to revive his dreams of independence, and he began discussing plans to move on from the relationship. These plans, however, never came to fruition, as Kenoyer's growing obsession with the inheritance took a sinister turn. What made her scheme even more chilling was the calculated patience she displayed. Kenoyer meticulously plotted every detail of her plan, from isolating Riley to ensuring his tea was laced with antifreeze at a precise dosage that would delay immediate detection. Kenoyer reportedly researched poisons extensively, even creating a schedule for administering doses that would mimic natural illness. She concealed her intentions by playing the caring partner, all while rehearsing explanations for his worsening symptoms. Her notes, later discovered by investigators, outlined scenarios where his death would appear accidental, removing suspicion from her entirely. She also manipulated his trust, convincing him to avoid friends who might take advantage of his inheritance, leaving him more isolated and dependent on her. The chilling precision and emotional manipulation behind her actions painted a picture of a woman entirely consumed by greed, willing to destroy the man she once claimed to love for wealth that was nothing more than a cruel illusion. Riley's life took a surprising turn when he received news of an inheritance worth $30 million. Excited by the prospect of financial freedom, Riley reportedly made plans to end his tumultuous relationship with Kenoyer after receiving the windfall. This decision, however, would have devastating consequences. Ina Kenoyer, Riley's partner of nearly a decade, was described as controlling and manipulative by those who knew her. Born in North Dakota, Kenoyer's life was marked by persistent financial instability and a string of tumultuous relationships that often ended acrimoniously. Her early years were characterized by hardships, including estranged familial ties and a pattern of relying on others for financial and emotional support. Kenoyer had a reputation for being shrewd and resourceful in navigating her challenges, though often at the expense of others. Former acquaintances noted a pattern in her behavior. She would ingratiate herself with individuals who could offer stability, only for relationships to sour when her demands or expectations became overwhelming. She was also deeply distrustful and prone to jealousy, traits that exacerbated her control over Riley. Several people close to the couple mentioned instances where Kenoyer monitored Riley's interactions with others, accusing him of dishonesty or withholding information. This possessiveness extended to their finances, with Kenoyer frequently scrutinizing Riley's spending and earning potential, often vocalizing her dissatisfaction. In social settings, Kenoyer was described as charming and engaging, which masked her manipulative tendencies. Those who saw beyond her facade noted her ability to twist situations in her favor, often at the expense of those she claimed to care about. Her fixation on Riley's inheritance was not an isolated incident, but rather part of a broader pattern of leveraging relationships for personal gain. Kenoyer's fascination with wealth and status seemed to stem from her lifelong struggles with poverty. Growing up in a small, economically stagnant town, she faced financial instability from an early age. Her family struggled to make ends meet, and Kenoyer often witnessed the toll that constant monetary worries took on her parents. This early exposure to financial hardship left her with a deep sense of insecurity and a fixation on escaping the life she felt trapped in. As an adult, Kenoyer moved between low-paying jobs, rarely finding stability. Her relationships often mirrored this pattern, as she sought out partners who could provide the security she longed for, but struggled to maintain healthy dynamics due to her possessiveness and demands. Friends from her past described her as someone who envied others' successes, often making bold statements about how wealth would solve all her problems. To Kenoyer, the prospect of Riley's inheritance wasn't just financial freedom, it was vindication against a life of deprivation. This fixation ultimately blinded her to the moral boundaries she crossed, driving her toward calculated and catastrophic decisions that would expose the darkest corners of her character. Kenoyer saw Riley's inheritance as a way to escape her financial troubles, believing she was entitled to a share as his common-law wife. Unbeknownst to her, North Dakota does not recognize common-law marriages, a detail that would later become. On September 3, 2023, Riley's life changed forever. Accompanied by Kenoyer and friends, he met an individual at the Minot airport who claimed to be an attorney handling his inheritance. Shortly after the meeting began, Riley began exhibiting alarming symptoms: dizziness, nausea, and an inability to walk. While friends urged him to seek medical attention, Kenoyer dismissed their concerns, insisting it was merely heat stroke. She took him home, where his condition worsened over the next 2 days. Friends grew concerned when they were unable to contact Riley or confirm Kenoyer's claims that he had visited a hospital. Several of Riley's closest friends attempted to check on him personally, only to be met with resistance from Kenoyer. She refused to allow them access to Riley, offering vague excuses that ranged from "he needs rest" to "he's already improving," and visitors would only stress him out. The tension escalated when one friend, who had known Riley for decades, demanded to see him, only for Kenoyer to grow hostile, accusing them of overstepping their boundaries. This behavior only deepened their suspicions, as it was unlike Riley to isolate himself so completely, especially during a time of need. Some friends even considered calling for a welfare check, but hesitated, fearing they might exacerbate the situation. When the truth of Riley's condition emerged, the friends were devastated, realizing that Kenoyer's actions weren't just suspicious, they were calculated. By blocking any chance of outside help, she ensured that no one could intervene or disrupt her deadly plan. This deliberate isolation left Riley entirely at her mercy, turning his trusted partner into his ultimate betrayer. Kenoyer's refusal to take Riley to the hospital, despite his visibly deteriorating condition, raised serious questions about her intentions. Witnesses later recounted her calm demeanor during his collapse, which contrasted starkly with the urgency others felt. As Riley grew weaker, Kenoyer continued to insist he was fine, attributing his symptoms to dehydration and heat stroke. Investigators would later conclude that Kenoyer's reluctance to seek medical help was deliberate, a cold calculation aimed at ensuring the poison took its course without interference. The choice to keep Riley at home, isolated and vulnerable, showcased her willingness to gamble with his life to achieve her ultimate goal. What made this even more shocking was her lack of remorse, even as his condition became critical. When questioned, Kenoyer claimed she didn't want to make a fuss or embarrass him in front of others, a defense that fell apart under scrutiny. Her actions, seen in hindsight, painted a picture of someone prioritizing greed over the basic humanity of helping a dying partner. In another shocking detail, investigators discovered that Kenoyer had tampered with Riley's phone, deleting messages from concerned friends who had tried to reach him. This not only cut Riley off from potential help, but also ensured that no outside interference would derail her deadly plan. On September 5th, emergency services were finally called to their residence, where they found Riley unresponsive. However, an unexpected twist arose when a neighbor came forward, claiming to have overheard a heated argument between Riley and Kenoyer the night before his collapse. The neighbor reported sounds of shattering glass and Kenoyer's raised voice, which led investigators to consider whether there had been an earlier attempt to harm Riley or coerce him into silence about the inheritance. Further analysis revealed that Kenoyer had staged parts of the home to appear as though Riley had been unwell for days, manipulating the scene to fit her fabricated story. This layer of deception highlighted her chilling determination to control the narrative and avoid suspicion. Adding to the scandal, it was later alleged that the individual posing as the attorney at the airport meeting may have been connected to the scam surrounding the fraudulent inheritance. However, no direct evidence has confirmed the existence of an accomplice working with Kenoyer, leaving this aspect of the case unresolved. Law enforcement's focus remained on Kenoyer's own actions, and despite thorough questioning, no further arrests were made. Riley was airlifted to a hospital in Bismarck, but tragically, he succumbed to his. An autopsy revealed that Riley had died from ethylene glycol poisoning, a toxic substance commonly found in antifreeze. During their investigation, law enforcement uncovered a chilling detail. The sweet tea laced with antifreeze had been prepared in a distinctive mug that Riley seldom used. This led to speculation that Kenoyer deliberately chose it to avoid raising suspicion. Furthermore, investigators found a handwritten note in Kenoyer's possession that outlined hypothetical scenarios of unexpected tragedy and potential legal outcomes, implying a disturbingly calculated mindset. The toxicology report, coupled with these discoveries, left no doubt about the premeditated nature of her actions and led law enforcement to focus their investigation on Kenoyer. The revelation of ethylene glycol poisoning prompted a thorough investigation. Detectives interviewed friends and family who recounted Kenoyer's unsettling comments about poisoning Riley. These comments, combined with inconsistencies in her account of events, painted a damning picture. A search of their home uncovered a Windex bottle containing a green liquid, later confirmed to be antifreeze. In a shocking twist, investigators discovered that Kenoyer had conducted online searches related to ethylene glycol poisoning weeks before the crime. Search history revealed phrases like how to poison someone without detection and symptoms of antifreeze ingestion, which highlighted the premeditated nature of her actions. Adding to the chilling details, detectives found receipts showing Kenoyer had purchased antifreeze only days before Riley's collapse, contradicting her initial claim that the bottle was old and unused. The calculated planning was further confirmed when messages on Kenoyer's phone revealed she had discussed the supposed inheritance with an unidentified acquaintance, boasting about the impending windfall. These details solidified the prosecution's case, painting Kenoyer as someone who was willing to go to extreme lengths, driven by greed and desperation, to secure a fortune that never existed. Under police questioning, Kenoyer initially denied any involvement, clinging to a web of lies that investigators were quick to unravel. As evidence mounted, from the receipts for antifreeze to her incriminating online searches, Kenoyer's composure began to crumble. Detectives pressed her relentlessly, using her own inconsistencies against her. The breaking point came when she was confronted with the handwritten note found in her possession, detailing hypothetical scenarios of Riley's death and its potential benefits. Cornered and visibly shaken, Kenoyer broke down during a marathon interrogation session. Her confession was as chilling as it was revealing. She admitted to lacing Riley's tea with antifreeze, her voice trembling as she detailed the calculated planning that went into the act. She claimed desperation had driven her, citing years of financial hardship and the allure of a new life free from her struggles. However, her words lacked remorse. Instead, they echoed with a twisted justification for her actions. Investigators later described her confession as devoid of humanity, a stark reflection of the greed that had consumed her. The shocking admission not only solidified her guilt, but also painted a haunting picture of a woman willing to destroy everything for a fortune that never existed. She revealed that she had planned the act for weeks, carefully monitoring Riley's habits to ensure the poison would go unnoticed. Her motive was greed. She believed Riley's death would entitle her to his inheritance, which she saw as her escape from a life of financial hardship. However, investigators soon uncovered that the inheritance was a scam. Riley had been unknowingly ensnared in a fraudulent scheme, believing in a fortune that did not exist. This devastating twist deepened the tragedy of the case. Kenoyer was arrested on October 30th, 2023, and charged with Class A felony murder.
Please lock up my house.
Yeah, we'll lock up your house for you.
I'll give you the keys, but...
Yeah, we'll lock your house up for you. Is there anything you need?
Yes? Why me?
So right now.
Who?
So you get that copy that and all that. So now you do have the right to remain silent. You want us to lock up your house still?
Yes.
Okay, where are your keys at? Will your door even lock?
No? You guys busted open after I offered the key.
When's that?
When the detectives came and talked to me.
Okay, so it normally doesn't lock though.
Normally it does lock.
But since then it hasn't locked. So. Is there anything you need from the house? Purse? Just don't
Never been arrested before like this. I've never done anything. I haven't done anything.
Right.
Not ever.
We'll let you smoke a cigarette.
Sorry, but my face, everything is gone.
We just need probable cause to make an arrest, so it's over and proof, okay? You're still innocent, so you're guilty.
I know I'm innocent.
As the investigation unfolded, the shocking truth about the non-existent fortune came to light. Riley had been ensnared in a sophisticated scam, orchestrated by a group posing as legal representatives for wealthy estates. Emails and documents found on his devices revealed the scammer's intricate ploys, which included forged certificates and staged communications that gave the illusion of legitimacy. Riley's unwavering belief in the inheritance added a layer of heartbreak to the case, as friends and family realized the emotional toll the deception had taken on him. He had planned to use the money not only to leave Kenoyer, but to help loved ones and contribute to his community. In court, prosecutors highlighted how the illusion of wealth drove Kenoyer's actions, as she seized upon the opportunity to claim the imaginary fortune for herself. The false inheritance, a cruel trick by faceless scammers, became the catalyst for a tragedy that claimed Riley's life and left his community reeling from the senseless loss. In May 2024, Kenoyer pleaded guilty to the charge of murder. During her sentencing hearing in October 2024, Riley's family delivered emotional impact statements, highlighting the pain and loss caused by her actions. Stephanie Gonzalez, Riley's sister, captured the family's grief, stating, "You stole more than a human life. You stole a son from his mother and stepfather. How does it feel to have taken so much for absolutely nothing?" Kenoyer was sentenced to 50 years in prison, with 25 years suspended and 10 years of supervised probation upon release. She was also ordered to pay $3,455 in restitution to Riley's family. Riley's death sent shockwaves through the Minot community. Friends and neighbors mourned the loss of a kind and generous man, while his family grappled with the senselessness of his murder. The case also underscored the dangers of online scams, which can have devastating, far-reaching consequences. The tragic events surrounding Riley's death prompted discussions about the importance of verifying information and the destructive power of unchecked greed. Community members called for greater awareness of inheritance scams and emphasized the need for vigilance in identifying manipulative behaviors in relationships. While Kenoyer's guilt is undeniable, questions linger about her state of mind and the extent to which desperation influenced her actions. Could earlier intervention by friends or authorities have prevented this tragedy? What motivated Kenoyer to act so brazenly, even as the inheritance's legitimacy was questioned? Ultimately, the case of Ina Kenoyer is a sobering reminder of how greed and deception can lead to irreversible consequences. In seeking a fortune that never existed, she destroyed the life of the man she once claimed to love. Thank you for watching. Before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.